Hello, dear believers in Christ. Thank you for clicking on this video. Today, I am going to share a testimony we received from one of our subscribers. If you have been on this journey with us, you know that we are dedicated to sharing near-death experiences of those who have seen the other side and the messages they brought back. Today's testimony is for you, no matter your age. It is for everyone. So I encourage you to listen until the end so that you do not miss the most important part of this testimony. Before I begin sharing today's testimony, we would love to know where you are watching from. We love to see how far these messages have reached, and our prayer team would also like to pray for you and your city. If you have already done that, may God bless you. Please like this video and share it with your loved ones. Now listen and be blessed as I share this testimony with you. My name does not matter. What matters is what happened to me and what I was shown. I am going to tell it the way it happened, slow, the way I remember it, because some parts I still have to stop and breathe before I can continue. Before all this, I want you to know who I was. I was not a pastor. I was not someone people would point to and say, that man is close to God. I was just a regular man. I grew up in church. My mother used to drag me to Sunday service when I was a boy, and I hated it back then, if I am honest. As I got older, I kept some of that faith. I believed in Jesus. I believed he died for us and rose again. I believed he is coming back one day. If you ask me, I would have told you all of that without hesitating. But believing something and living like it is true are two very different things. I want to be honest with you here, because what is the point of telling this story if I am not honest? My prayer life was not strong. I prayed sometimes, mostly when something was wrong, a bill I could not pay, a sickness in the family, a job that was not going well. I would pray hard for a few days, and then life would calm down again, and so would my prayers. I read my Bible sometimes, mostly on Sundays, sometimes not even then. I followed the news a little. I would see stories about wars, about sicknesses spreading in different countries, about earthquakes, about the economy struggling in different parts of the world. Sometimes I would think to myself, things are getting worse, maybe Jesus is coming soon. But then I would close the article, or change the channel, and go back to my day. My mind would move to work, to bills, to my children's school, to all the small things that fill up a normal life and somehow push the eternal things to the side. I was not a bad man. I want to make that clear. I loved my family, I worked hard, I tried to do right by people. But there was a distance between me and God, not because I rejected him, but because I was distracted, busy, comfortable. Like so many people I know, I think that is something many of you watching this might understand, you believe. But your days are full. Work, family, worry about money, worry about health. And somehow, without deciding to, you push God to the corner of your life instead of the center. That was me, until this year. In the early part of this year, I started feeling something I cannot fully explain. A pulling, a restlessness in my spirit. I would be sitting at work and suddenly feel like something was missing. I would be lying in bed at night and feel like I needed to pray, really pray, not the quick kind I was used to. I started reading my Bible more. I started feeling like God was calling me to draw closer to him, to seek him in a deeper way than I ever had before. So I decided to fast. I had fasted before, short fasts, a day here, 3 days there, but this time felt different. I felt led to go longer. I told my wife what I wanted to do, and she was worried, naturally, but she supported me. I decided to do a dry fast, no food, no water, for as long as my body could hold on, believing God would strengthen me. I want to say clearly here, I am not encouraging anyone to do exactly what I did without wisdom, without listening to their own body, without medical guidance. I am only telling you what happened to me. The first week was hard, the hunger was strong, and then it faded into a strange quiet. By the second week, something began to shift in me spiritually. I felt closer to God than I had ever felt in my life. I would pray for hours and not notice the time passing. I felt like the noise of the world was getting smaller, and the presence of God was getting bigger. By the third week, my body was very weak. My family was concerned. My wife begged me more than once to stop, to eat something, just a little, but I felt deep in my spirit that I was not done yet. I felt like God was preparing me for something, though I did not know what. By the 40th day, I could barely walk on my own. I remember sitting in my room that morning, my body trembling, my mind strangely clear and calm. I remember praying and telling God that whatever he wanted to do in me and through me, I was willing. I did not know those would be some of the last conscious words I would speak for the next 25 minutes. I do not remember collapsing. My daughter found me on the floor of my room. She told me later that she screamed for her mother and that I was not breathing, and my lips had turned a strange color. My wife called for help right away, and our daughter, who is only 16, stayed with me, trying to keep me steady, crying and praying over me until help arrived. I do not remember any of that part. The next thing I remember, I was looking down. I was looking down at my own body on the floor of my bedroom. I want to pause here because even saying that sentence out loud still gives me a strange feeling in my chest. I saw myself lying there, thin from the fast, pale, completely still. I saw my daughter kneeling beside me, shaking me gently, crying out for me to wake up. I felt a strange detachment, like I was watching a scene from someone else's life rather than my own. There was no panic in me. I want to be honest, I expected to feel afraid, but I did not feel afraid. I felt calm, almost like I was wrapped in something soft that I could not see. I watched the paramedics arrive. I watched them work on my body, pressing on my chest, speaking words to each other that I could somehow hear clearly even though I was no longer inside my body. I watched my wife standing by the door, her hand over her mouth, tears running down her face. I wanted to comfort her, I wanted to tell her I was fine, but I had no voice that she could hear. And then slowly the room around me began to fade, not all at once. It was like a light dimming, the edges of the room growing soft and dark until I was no longer in my bedroom at all. I found myself moving through what I can only describe as a deep, soft darkness. I do not have better words for it. It was not a frightening darkness. I want to make that very clear because I know some of you might expect fear here. There was no fear. There was a strange, growing peace, the kind of peace I had never felt while alive in my body, not once in 43 years. As I moved through this darkness, I began to notice a light far ahead of me. Small at first, then growing larger as I moved toward it, or maybe as it moved toward me, I am not completely sure which. The light grew brighter and brighter, until it surrounded me completely, and the moment that light touched me, every fear I might have had simply melted away. I cannot describe to you in human words what that light felt like. It was not just light to look at. It was light I could feel inside my chest, inside my very being. It felt like love. Pure love, with nothing mixed into it, no conditions, no judgment, nothing but acceptance and warmth. In the middle of that light, I became aware of a presence beside me. I did not see this presence with my eyes at first, I simply knew it was there. The way you know someone has walked into a room even before you turn to look. Slowly, the presence took a form I could see. A being tall, radiant, dressed in something that looked like pure light woven into fabric. I want to say his face, but it is hard to describe a face that was full of light and yet so full of kindness that I felt I had known him my whole life. I understood somehow, without being told in words at first, that this being had come to guide me. I felt no fear of him. Only comfort, the kind of comfort you feel as a small child being picked up by a parent who loves you completely. We began to move together, and it did not feel like walking. It felt like simply being somewhere and then being somewhere else, smooth, instant, without effort. I saw what I can only describe as the edges of the earth falling away beneath us, and we moved upward, or maybe inward, into a place that I cannot fully put into words even now. Suddenly, a light appeared that was different from anything I had seen yet, brighter, deeper. A light that did not just shine, but seemed to be alive. I felt my whole being tremble at the sight of it, not from fear, but from something closer to awe, the kind of feeling you get standing at the edge of something so much bigger than yourself, that your mind cannot hold it. I understood, in that moment, without anyone telling me directly, that I was in the presence of Jesus. I want to pause here because I still struggle to find the right words. I cannot describe his face the way I could describe a man on earth. What I can tell you is that I felt completely known. Every secret thing I had ever done, every thought I had ever hidden, every weakness I had ever tried to cover up, all of it was known, and yet I felt no shame in that moment, only love. A love so deep it is hard to explain to anyone who has not felt it. The guide who had brought me there explained, not with spoken words exactly, but in a way that went straight into my understanding that I was being shown certain things. He made it clear, very clear, that the purpose was not to frighten me. The purpose was preparation. He showed me somehow that many people on earth were sleeping spiritually, unaware of how close eternity truly is, and that I was being given a chance to see things that I would carry back, to share, to wake others up gently, not with fear, but with truth and with love. What happened next is the part I have struggled the most to put into words, because it was not like watching a movie. It was more like being inside many places at once, feeling what the people in those places were feeling, while also somehow standing apart from it all in that place of light. The vision shifted, and I found myself looking over what felt like the whole earth, though I cannot explain exactly how that is possible. I was reminded, in that quiet way of understanding rather than hearing words, of things Jesus spoke about a long time ago, about signs that would appear before his return, wars, disasters, diseases, hunger, hearts growing cold. I felt the weight of all of this settle on me, not as fear but as a kind of sorrow. The sorrow you feel when you realize people you love are walking toward danger without seeing it. The first thing I was shown clearly was hunger, real physical hunger. I saw places where the shelves in stores stood empty. I saw mothers looking at their children with helpless eyes because there was no food to give them. I saw fields that should have been full of crops standing dry and broken. I felt in my own chest a small piece of the suffering those families were feeling, the desperation, the fear of not knowing how they would eat tomorrow. I was told gently that hunger like this was increasing in different parts of the world, slowly, in ways many people were not paying attention to because it was not happening in their own neighborhood yet. I felt my heart breaking a little as I watched this, because I thought of all the food I had thrown away over the years without thinking twice, while somewhere else, a child was going to sleep with an empty stomach. But then something else was shown to me, something I did not expect. I was shown that hunger was not only physical. There is another kind of hunger, just as real, maybe even more dangerous, because so few people notice it in themselves. Spiritual hunger. I was shown churches, full of people but somehow empty in spirit. I was shown people sitting in services, singing songs, saying the right words, but their hearts far away, untouched, unmoved. I was shown places where the truth of the Bible was being softened, changed, twisted to make people comfortable instead of changed. I felt a deep sadness in that place of light, a sadness that I understood was shared by the very being standing beside me. I was shown people who had everything this world could offer, big houses, success, money, comfort, and yet inside they were starving, searching for something they could not name, looking in every direction except toward God. I recognized something of myself in that vision, if I am honest. My own years of believing without truly seeking, of having faith without truly hungering for God the way I hungered for everything else in my life. I understood in that moment that those of us who call ourselves believers are being called to do more than just notice this suffering, the physical and the spiritual. We are being called to respond, to give, to love, to serve the hungry stomach and the hungry soul both. I felt that truth settle deep into me, deeper than any sermon I had ever sat through. The vision shifted again, and I began to see sickness moving across different regions of the earth. I saw hospitals filled beyond what they could hold. I saw fear on the faces of doctors who did not have answers. I saw families separated by illness, unable to comfort each other in the way they needed to. I felt the fear of those moments pressing on me, the uncertainty, the way sickness can humble even the strongest among us. I was reminded in that quiet understanding that mankind has built incredible things, medicines, machines, knowledge beyond what any generation before us had. And yet, even with all of that, we remain fragile, small, unable to fully protect ourselves from things we cannot even see. I felt humbled by this, not afraid, but humbled, the way a man feels when he truly realizes for the first time, that he is not in control of his own life the way he believed he was. I understood that this was not meant to make me panic. It was meant to remind me that no matter how advanced we become, our need for God does not disappear. If anything, it grows. I thought of all the times I trusted in my own strength, my own planning, my own ability to handle whatever came, instead of leaning on God the way I should have. Then the vision shifted once more, and I began to feel the ground trembling beneath places I was being shown. I saw buildings falling. I saw the earth splitting in places. I saw floods rushing through towns, carrying away homes that people had spent their whole lives building. I felt the fear of the people running, the confusion, the loss. I was shown, again gently, that the earth itself seems to be groaning, like something straining under a weight it was never meant to carry. I remembered faintly words from the Bible about creation waiting, almost like it is in pain, for something to be set right. I understood that what I was seeing was a picture of that groaning, made visible to me. I felt standing there a strange mix of sorrow and hope. Sorrow for the suffering, the broken homes, the lost lives. But hope too, a hope I could not fully explain because somehow I understood that this present earth, broken and groaning as it is not the final word. I understood, deep in my spirit, that there is a kingdom coming that will not be shaken, that will not break, that will not fade, and that understanding lifted some of the heaviness I was carrying. The light around me seemed to grow even brighter then, and I felt myself being shown something different, not scenes of disaster this time, but something more like a comparison, a contrast, laid out before me without words. I saw on one side things that humans spend their whole lives chasing: money, fame, success, beautiful homes, powerful positions. And as I watched, I saw these things fading like smoke disappearing into the air, here for a moment and then gone. I saw how quickly a man's wealth can vanish, how quickly a person's name can be forgotten after they are gone, how little any of it truly lasts. On the other side, I felt, more than saw, something eternal, something solid, something that does not fade no matter how long it stands. I understood, in a way that went deeper than any explanation could, that this earthly life, no matter how long it feels while we are living it, is only a small breath compared to what comes after. I felt tears. If a spirit can cry, I felt something like tears rising in me as I thought of all the years I had spent chasing things that fade, while neglecting the one thing that lasts forever. I thought of late nights at work, chasing promotions, while my Bible sat closed on my nightstand. I thought of money spent on things I do not even remember now, while I gave so little time to prayer. I felt a deep, quiet conviction settle over me, not condemnation but conviction, the kind that makes you want to change rather than simply feel guilty. Then I was shown something that I still think about every single day since I came back. I saw two groups of people, standing apart from each other, though they lived in the same world, walked the same streets, maybe even sat in the same churches. The first group, I understood, were watchful. They prayed not out of fear, but out of love. They lived obedient lives, not perfect, but sincere, hearts turned toward God daily. They shared what they had with others. They spoke about Jesus to the people around them gently, with love, not with anger or judgment. I felt warmth and peace radiating from this group, even in the vision. The second group, I understood, were sleeping. Not bad people necessarily. Many of them believed in God, just like I had. But their hearts were far away, distracted, comfortable, living for today with little thought of eternity. I recognized myself painfully in this group, the man I had been just months before this experience. I was shown clearly that readiness for Christ's return is not about knowing dates or predicting events. It is not about fear or panic. It is about repentance. About turning back toward God with our whole hearts, about living holy lives, not perfect but sincere, about staying in prayer, staying close to Him, staying obedient even when it is not convenient, about keeping our relationship with Jesus alive and real, not just a memory from childhood, not just words we say on Sunday. I felt a deep urgency rise inside me as I understood this, a desire to go back and tell everyone I knew, wake up, do not let your faith become something you simply carry in your memory. Let it be alive in you today. The vision shifted once more, and this time I saw something that broke my heart in a way I am still recovering from. I saw countless people, more than I could count, entering eternity unprepared. I do not have better words for what I felt in that moment. A grief so deep it felt like it was tearing something inside me. I understood that every single one of those souls mattered, that none of them were just a number, that each one had a name, a story, people who loved them. I felt an overwhelming compassion rise in me, mixed with sorrow, mixed with urgency. I understood in that place why sharing the gospel matters so much, why we cannot stay silent, why we cannot assume there is always more time. Time on this earth, I understood, is precious, more precious than I had ever treated it while I was living my ordinary days, complaining about small things, wasting hours on things that did not matter. I wanted to stay in that place of light forever. I want to be honest about that. The peace there was unlike anything I had known. But I understood gently that my time there was not finished. The guide beside me made it clear, in that quiet way of understanding, that my assignment on earth was not yet complete. I was told, not with fear but with love, to go back. I was told to tell others to repent, to turn their hearts back to God, to pray, not just in emergencies, but daily sincerely, to remain faithful, even when life is hard, even when no one is watching, to live holy lives, not because we are trying to earn anything, but because we love the one who first loved us. To keep our eyes on eternity, instead of being swallowed up by the small things of this world. To stay spiritually awake, watching, ready, the way the first group I saw had been living. I remember feeling a kind of sadness at the thought of leaving that place. But more than that, I felt a sense of purpose, a sense that I had been given something precious, something I needed to carry back carefully, like water cupped in two hands, careful not to spill a single drop. The next thing I remember is a sudden, sharp pulling sensation, like being pulled backward very quickly. The light faded. The piece I had been wrapped in began to give way to something heavier, more solid. And then, suddenly I felt pain. Real physical pain, in my chest, in my whole body. I opened my eyes to bright hospital lights above me. There were people around me, moving quickly, voices speaking urgently. I felt confused, disoriented, my body felt impossibly heavy, like I was trying to fit my whole spirit back into something too small to hold it. I remember trying to speak, and my voice coming out as barely a whisper. My wife was there. I learned later she had stayed by my side the entire time, refusing to leave. When she saw my eyes open, she broke down crying, holding my hand so tightly I could feel it even through how weak I was. My daughter was there too, the same daughter who had found me on the floor and called for help. She told me later that the doctors had worked on me for 25 minutes before my heart began beating again, and that even they seemed amazed it had restarted at all, given how long it had been and how weak my body already was from the fast. The days after that are still a blur in some ways. My body was extremely weak, and it took weeks of careful eating, slowly, to get my strength back. but something inside me had changed in a way that no amount of physical weakness could touch. I found myself unable to stop thinking about what I had seen, what I had felt, what I had understood in that place. My love for Jesus, which had been real but distant before, became something burning, something alive in a way I had never experienced. I found myself praying for hours without even noticing the time passing, the same way I had during the fast, except now it continued even after my body had healed. I picked up my Bible with a hunger I had never felt before. Verses that I had read 100 times before suddenly felt alive, felt like they were speaking directly to me. I began to understand in a deeper way the urgency behind the words of Jesus, the seriousness behind his warnings, and also the depth of his love behind every single one of them. I found a burden growing in me for people who do not know him, or who know about him but have never truly surrendered their hearts to him. I think of the people I saw in that vision, asleep, distracted, comfortable, and I cannot help but think of my neighbors, my coworkers, even members of my own family who have not yet truly turned their hearts to God. I feel a gentle but constant push inside me to speak to them, to share what little I can, to encourage them toward the same closeness with God that I now treasure more than anything else in this life. I also found myself caring less about things that used to matter so much to me. The promotion at work that I used to think about constantly, it does not weigh on me the way it once did. The opinions of people around me, the need to impress, to look successful, to keep up with everyone else, all of that has quieted down inside me. Not because those things are bad in themselves, but because I have seen, even briefly, something far more real, far more lasting, and it changed what I consider important. I do not live in fear now. I want to make this very clear because I know some people hear stories like mine and become afraid of world events, afraid of the future, afraid of what might be coming. That is not what I carry from this experience. What I carry is hope, a deep, settled hope, even in the middle of a world that feels uncertain and sometimes frightening. Because I have seen even just a glimpse of what is waiting beyond all of this, and it is so much greater than anything we are losing or worrying about here. I also carry urgency, but not the kind that makes you panic, the kind that makes you want to use your days well, the kind that makes you want to love people more deeply, forgive more quickly, hold on to grudges less tightly, and spend more time on the things that will still matter 100 years from now, 1,000 years from now, forever. That is his testimony in his own words exactly as he shared it with us. I want to take a moment, just a moment before we close this video, to speak directly to you. This man did not come on camera to frighten you. He came to remind you gently of something many of us already believe but rarely live out. World events, the things happening around us in this world, hunger, sickness, disasters, none of these are meant to fill us with panic. They are meant to wake us up, to turn our eyes back toward eternity, back toward the one who loves us more than we could ever fully understand. The real question this testimony leaves us with is not when Jesus will return. No one knows that day. Not even the man in this story claims to know it. The real question, the only question that truly matters, is this. If he returned today, this very hour, would you be ready to meet him? Not ready in the sense of having everything perfect. None of us will ever be perfect. But ready in your heart. Ready in your relationship with him. Ready because you have turned toward him, because you are seeking him daily, because your life, even with all its flaws, is pointed toward him. If something in this story has touched you today, I want to gently encourage you. Do not wait. Do not push this feeling aside the way the man in this story admits he used to do for so many years. Take this moment seriously. Speak to God right now wherever you are sitting. Tell him you want to be closer to him. Tell him you are ready to turn your heart fully toward him. And if you know someone, a friend, a family member, someone in your life who needs to hear this message, please share this with them. We were not just told to prepare ourselves. We were reminded through this testimony that we are called to help others wake up too gently, with love, the same way this man is doing right now by sharing his story with you. Thank you for watching until the end. If this testimony spoke to you, please consider subscribing so you do not miss the next story we share. May this message find your heart wherever you are, and may it draw you closer to the one who loves you more than you have ever fully understood. Before you go, kindly like this video, subscribe to our channel for more of this testimonies that would be posted on this channel. Remain blessed.